Hi Theory 2, welcome to lesson 4 this week, and we are going to be working on note reading on the staff today. So for each of the instruments, I'm going to talk to each of you at a different time. So violins, just ignore, or you can listen in on the alto clef for viola and the bass clef for cellos. Same thing for cellos, violas. Just listen in, make sure you're paying attention when it's your instrument time. So looking at your worksheets this week, we're going to talk about line notes and space notes. So most of you guys have been reading music for a little while, and so you probably know your notes pretty well. But we're going to talk about the staff, and then we're going to make sure that you know where that staff note is on the fingerboard, and we'll have some exercises with that. So hopefully this is a kind of an easy lesson for you today, but it should help you be better note readers, okay? So for violins, we have our 5 lines and our 4 spaces, and starting in space 2, that's where our open A string is. Now I want to make sure that you guys understand that when we go space to line, we're going up through the alphabet. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you look at your paper there, you see this is for everybody, both violins, violas, and cellos. So look how the alphabet just goes space, then the next line, then the next space, then the next line, then the next space, then the next line. So it's almost like you're just stepping up, but it's not line. It goes line, space, okay? They each are a different letter. So, that's your top, the top part. So you have to remember it moves line to space and space to line, and it just steps up through the alphabet. So if there's a note that you don't know, but you know where your open A string is on the staff, like you know where that A is, then you can just take a pencil and go A, B, C, and you count the line space, all the way up till you get to the note that you need. Okay, so violins, you'll see that there's a little box there and it says, say this 3 times out loud. And yes, I mean for you to say it out loud, okay? Don't just read it 3 times silently, say it out loud because I want it to stick in your head. So it's, hey, it's second space, open A. You could even say 2. Hey, open A, or second space, open A. Hey, it's second space, open A. So it's kind of like a little cheer, okay? So say it 3 times out loud when you're going through this. Then, if we're going to step down through the alphabet, we're doing the same thing. So we're going line, space, but we're going down on the page and down through the staff, okay? So you're going to see violins. You see I have A, and then the next line down is G, then F, E, D, C, and we have these ledger lines going down, which we talked about last week. Okay, so, and the ledger lines go line, space, 2. Okay, so you'll see that. Then it has another thing for you to say out loud. Violins. Open D is ducking under the staff. So D is ducking. That's supposed to be your clue there. So you have a D and you have ducking. So think of the note that's ducking under, and it's the note D. That should help you, okay? So if it's not on the bottom line, it's ducking under it. So it's right in that first space. D, open D is ducking under the staff. Open D is ducking under the staff. You can even say it 3 times with me on the video. Open D is ducking under the staff. Okay, then we kind of have these shortcuts to help us remember. Instead of counting A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, instead of counting each one, then we just say the lines. Now the lines are skips because the space is the next note. So a line goes line is skipping, and it's skipping letters, okay? So the lines for the treble clef, and you might have learned this in music class already, okay, is every good boy deserves fudge. EGBDF. So it's not really every, it's just we came up with a silly sentence to help you remember it, that the first letter of each word is, you can just say the lines. Every good, I have my staff here. Every good boy deserves fudge. So you just are going up the lines, okay? Remember, you're going up because we always count up. We go up. We say our letters going forward. They go up, okay? So, every good boy deserves fudge. You could come up with another silly sentence, but it has to start, each line has to start with EGBDF, okay? Then, the spaces spell the word face. F-A-C-E. Okay? So these again are spaces. A, F, F, then skip up. A, skip up. C, skip up. E. And what does that spell? Face. So spaces spell face. If you sometime walk by Mr. Charles's office, he has up a sign outside his door that shows the treble clef, and it shows the notes on the spaces, and it says note, 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 and then there's a picture of a mask underneath. So what do you think that is saying? You have to be able to read treble clef in order to understand the sign outside Mr. Charles' door. So be sure and check that out this week. I saw that yesterday and thought that was kind of funny. Okay, violas. Let's talk about your first page of lesson 4, which is alto clef, okay? So you have that same thing. We start your open A, not your open A. Your first finger on the G string, A, is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it goes line space, line space, line space, line space, line space. Going up. Remember, they just step up. So you're going to say D, D, D is in space 3. Your open D string is in space 3. So violas, yep, you got to say it out loud too, just like the violins. D, D, D is in space 3. You say it. Ready? Say it with me. D, D, D is in space 3. Do it again. You can even do some I don't know. I'm not into rap, but we could do some rap. D, D, D is in space 3. Okay? You can come up with one. Then we're going to talk about that next section down. The lines and the notes are going down. So it goes line, space, going down. And you have the ledger lines. For your open C string, the lowest note that you have is one ledger line and then the space under. So you don't have to worry about counting ledger lines too far down the staff, but you will have to count them on top of the staff, okay? Then, so your open G string is in space 1. So I thought a long time about this one, and it's hard to come up with a rhyme. So you're probably going to groan and roll your eyes, but I don't really care. So I want you to say 3 times, he, space 1 is G. He, space 1 is G. Yeah, I know, it's corny. Roll your eyes, but then say it. You'll probably remember it. Maybe when you're 40 years old, you'll be like, oh yeah, my theory teacher said, he, space 1 is G. Okay, so violas, got it? So space 3 is open D, space 1 is open G. Okay, now your lines, if we skip up through the alto clef lines, that first line on the bottom is F. Okay, so if we skip from F, skip G, land on A, skip B, land on C, that's your middle line here. Then skip D, land on E, skip F, land on G. So we have F, A, C, E, G. So you have face 2, but then we have a G on top, okay? So you can remember it with a silly sentence. If you want to think face on the lines and then G on top, that works. Or you can say Fords and Chevys eat gas. So in case you don't know, Fords and Chevys are a type of car or truck. Okay, so Fords and Chevys eat gas. Those are the lines for the alto clef. Let me point out too that the reason this clef is sometimes called a C clef is because it's pointing to that C line here. Okay, so here's C, Fords and Chevys. So that's where that C clef name comes from, because C is on that middle line. Okay, then your spaces are, bottom space is G. Remember, he, space 1 is G. Then, who's space 3? D. Okay, so we have G, B, D, F. Good brakes don't fail. So we have Fords. I kind of kept with the car theme for you guys. Fords and Chevys eat gas. Good brakes don't fail. Okay? Those are your lines and your spaces for alto clef. Okay, cellos, bass clef. Pull out my page here to make sure I say everything that you need. Once again, for you guys, that top box, it goes space line, space line, space line, space line, and we go up through the alphabet, okay? D is on line 3, so yours is D, D, D is on line 3, okay? Alto clef, this is the interesting thing. Theirs is D, D, D is in space 3. Bass clef, your D, your open D string, D, D, D is on line 3. Then we step down through the alphabet. You can see that on your paper there. And when we get to G, which is on line 1, I think of that. Remember we had, I think I told you guys this when I was talking about drawing treble clef or bass clefs. But if you think of this as a water problem down here on the ground, here's the ground. Okay, so G is on the ground. Here's the basement. Don't let him touch. Ground floor. So on the ground is G. So that bottom line, ground floor, is G. G is on the ground floor. If this is a tall building, here's the ground floor, G. Okay? Cellos, if we just go over your lines, we have G, then we skip A, B, skip C, land on D, skip E, land on F, skip G, land on A. So a silly sentence to remember is great big dogs fight alligators. Okay? Great big dogs fight alligators. Then your spaces, you guys have the animal theme, okay? Great big dogs fight alligators, and then your spaces are all cows eat grass. Now, here's what I find sometimes with students who have all these helps to remember all of these tricks, you know, like what I'm even teaching you, great big dogs fight alligators, is they forget, oh, is that the spaces or is that the lines? Okay? If the trick doesn't help you remember, then it's not a good trick. Okay? Or it's better that you understand it than you just are like, oh yeah, all cows eat grass, and you say that's for the lines. Okay? So you've got to remember all cows eat grass is spaces. Okay? So think about cows eating grass in big open spaces. So those are the bass clef spaces. So for everybody, make sure you keep your tricks straight for what you remember. Okay? On page 2 then, you are going to see a whole bunch of notes. Some of them are ledger lines. Some of them are on the staff. They're for your clef. So I want you to write in all of the note names as quickly as you can, but do it accurately. Make sure you don't skip any. It's kind of like math facts, okay? Like if you skip one, make sure you come back to it and finish it. Okay, then on the next page, we're talking about writing the notes on the staff. So before you write all of the notes on the staff, we need to talk about how to write sharps, because every instrument has a sharp in it, okay? So when you draw a sharp on the staff, the sharp goes in to the left of the note. We have to see that sharp before we see the note, okay? So if we read left to right, as we're reading, if the sharp is on this side, we're going to play that note and then see the sharp, and it's going to be too late, and we've played the wrong note, okay? So the sharp has to be first. So let's say for treble clef here. Now, a sharp looks kind of like tic-tac-toe, right? Or hashtag. The center box for tic-tac-toe. That's my tic-tac-toe strategy, is I always like to start in the middle. That center box, if it's a space note, that center box should be on the same space as the space note. If it's a line note, that center box should be on the same line as the line note, okay? You can't just draw a sharp like randomly. Who's that with? I don't know. He's just hanging out. Okay, so he's got to stay on the line with the same line note, okay? Now, here's the kind of weird thing. If we're writing the letters, so if you'll see in your notes, you're like, well, Miss Kristen, you wrote C sharp and F sharp. When we say it, we say the letter and then sharp. And when we write the letter, we write letter and sharp. We don't say sharp C and sharp F, okay? But when we draw it on the staff, that's basically what it is. It's sharp F, or bass clef, sharp F. The sharp must go on the left side, okay? I have piano students that I've taught for a long, long time, and they've been doing theory for a long, long time, and they still do it wrong, okay? So if I can like stand up on my head and make you remember this, sharps go on the left side when you're drawing them on the staff, okay? Then in number 2, you're going to see, or number 3, you will see that there is a big fingerboard, and your fingers, like where, if you were a beginner, where you put your fingers, okay? And you see at the top where it says the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So first finger on the E string, what letter is that? Write it in. And it's a letter, so first finger on the E string, you're going to write the letter F and then the sharp, okay? But look down at the staff. I have a sharp F, okay? Then once you get all the letters in, you're going to draw a line from the note on the staff. So here is every note in first position that you can play on cello, viola, or violin. Draw a note from where he lives on the fingerboard to where he lives on the staff, okay? Think about it like this is his house and this is where he works, okay? The finger, this note here is always here. That's where he works, but he lives here on the staff. Work, staff. This G cannot be here, okay? He lives here on line 2 and he works here on the fingerboard. House, work, house, work, and connect them. Show me how they're the same and which ones go together. Then at the next part, bottom of the page, you're going to draw in the 4 open strings. Whatever your 4 open strings are, draw those notes on the staff in that spot. Then the next page is, let's see here, 12 fingerboards and 12 staves. If the plural of staff is staves. Go figure. So you're going to figure out where the circle is. What note is that? Write the letter in, and then that's where he works. Now show me where he lives on the staff. Show me where his house is. Remember, it's not just any place. He has a specific house on the staff. He has a specific place on our fingerboard, okay? Now, some of you, if you're playing in third position yet, we're just talking about first position, okay? All of their jobs in first position. When we get to third position, they start getting some new jobs. And so they have 2 places that they can work. but they still only have one house. 2 places to work on the fingerboard, 1 house on the staff. Okay, is that it for today? Let me make sure I got everything covered. And I did. Enjoy your note names this week. I'll see you next week.